The GIM Channel podcast, bringing you the big picture on geoscientific information management through interviews and discussions.
Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of Acquire's podcast, The GIM Channel, which we're actually hosting from the trade show floor at the annual Mineral Exploration Conference PDAC 2018 over in Toronto. I'm Misha Stacker and I'm from Acquire Technology Solutions, and today I'm actually joined by our guest speaker Dave Eden from Kinross Gold. Hi Dave.
Hello, good afternoon.
And we also have Joe Makori from Acquire. Hi Joe.
Hi Mish.
Just a little bit of a background for Dave Eden. So he's actually the Director of Technical Strategy in the Technical Services Geology Department of Kinross Gold Corporation in Toronto. He manages the corporate reserve and resource reporting process, technical audits and preparation of technical reports for public disclosure, and oversees the corporate geologic data systems team. Dave is a geological engineer and he also has a Master of Science in Geology. So yeah, really strong background there for you in geology, Dave. Just to start off, what actually brings you to PDAC this year?
Well, I work just down the street, so I come every year. I mean, it's the event internationally. I think we're one of them with mining, and it's always a lot of fun. And then especially this year, well, it was fun to come and participate with your Acquire panel earlier today.
Yeah, that's right. Dave actually joined us earlier. We had a live panel discussion from the Acquire booth with Cameco Corporation and also CSA Global joining us, and we had quite a lively discussion around the digital mine. It was quite interesting. So yeah, it was really great for you to join us on there. And Joe, you're actually from our Calgary office. What's sort of some of the highlights for you, or what brings you to PDAC each year?
Yeah, I mean, the same reason, similar to Dave, I guess. You know, I'm apart from that, I'm from Calgary, not Toronto. So I'm responsible for business development in North America, and my main intentions is to connect, to network, to see what trends are ongoing, and how much more we can be more relevant to the industry. So trying to build that awareness.
Yeah, PDAC is definitely a big networking event. We see lots of people, lots of familiar faces each year. So just going back to that, we're talking about the live panel discussion, and we were talking about the digital mine there with that interesting discussion. So, Dave, what are some of the biggest trends that you're seeing in the mining industry as we shift towards the digital mine?
Okay. Well, one thing that we see, so there's the use of ever larger data sets. There's more kinds of data available, so streams of from sensors and drones and there's just a lot more information out there, and what that allows us to do in principle is to optimize things like across the whole value chain. So from starting with the geological data, and then from the resource model to the mine plan and to operations, so the dispatch and the processing, that in theory we can, with good geometallurgical characterization and then building that into the mine planning and the process management, there's the possibility of really optimizing. I think that's what a lot of companies want to do, and I think we're just in the very beginning stages of that, trying to figure out how exactly are we going to do this. And in some ways, it's a transition from some real sort of Stone Age stuff, right? Where I mean, there's some sites that have only until recently been using spreadsheets and things like that as their database. I mean, it was adequate with the right training of the right people, but so across the mining industry is always it's been slow to adopt technology in the past. But so I think it's sort of an exciting time to see us move from some very sort of old practices, and we're really just sort of leaping ahead now, I think.
Yeah, and as we go through that transition, like I think you just mentioned there, the industry's been slow to adopt new technologies. Do you think this transition might go a little bit quicker this time? Like once a few things fall into place, do you think there'll be a big change?
That's a good question. I hadn't thought about it in that way, but I think we'll kind of have to, right? And there's been a lot of so a lot of those changes are, first of all, with the younger people entering the industry, there's less resistance to to new ideas, right? They're just more comfortable using these technologies. I mean, because right now, I mean, there are people in the industry very competent, very qualified, but they're people that did not in their when they first started working in the 70s or 80s. I mean, the personal computers even were a relative rarity, right? And many of them picked up quite. I mean, so what's crazy is, so like my boss, for example, is he's been in the industry a fair while longer than I have. He's actually really tech savvy. Right? So there are some. I mean, I'm not saying that there are some of the very experienced people who are. He's much more into new tech than I am in terms of interest, right? But so you see that, but still, in general, there's a lot of people that just haven't been there, and so I think it will be. I think that let's just say the next 5 to 10 years, we'll probably see a much quicker change than the previous 20 or 30. I would think.
What about you, Joe? Are you sort of seeing some different trends coming through in the industry? Like, I guess we've got those big buzzwords out there at the moment, everyone's like machine learning, AI, connected minds, digital minds, intelligent minds, there's just so much different, different types of buzzwords out there. I guess what are the trends that you're hearing to move towards the digital mind?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that. This time last year, I remember having conversations where people were questioning, IBM Watson has been released and they're trying to get into mining, and people not knowing how relevant will it be, what added value and input will it bring. But it seems like that's slowly changing now because some companies have given it a shot and they're trying to see, what we can get from it or they can get from it. So they're just giving it a go, attempting and trying. And I guess my response to that is all these buzzwords are slowly coming into the industry. They might have been a slower intake, to try and adopt them. But there's other events as well which are really appealing to the startup companies. For example, an Unearthed event, a hackathon for the younger generation. Coming in straight from school, ripe and ready to start building technologies that are probably going to help give us a stepping stone to disrupt the industry. And we attended a Disrupt Mining event on Sunday. And some of the technologies and the ideas that were there, like virtual reality, augmented reality, and this is usually aspects that are related to other industries but mining. And it seems like eventually mining, the mining industry will jump on board and embrace it and hopefully take it forward. So maybe the curve, the acceleration curve of adoption might actually start increasing and going up.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing, I think, a bit of a impact of those hackathon style events. I know Disrupt Mining seemed to make a really big impact this year at PDAC. It was very popular. There was lots of press and talk about the new innovations coming through and who are the finalists. Did you end up going, Dave, to the
No, I didn't go to that, but I think it's a really good point about these open sourcing some of these solutions. Like I think it began with it was the Gold Corp Challenge over 15 years ago or something, right? And it was just what a fantastic idea,
Yeah. So I guess talking about, we're mentioning some of those new technologies and, startups coming, entering the space. I mean, Dave, are you seeing any new technologies that are exciting you at the moment within the mining industry?
Oh, well, I think from my point of view, like from the geoscientific data and, for ore body characterization, which is my primary interest, I think it's seeing ways of automating that data collection and that's more accurate. So, for example, earlier today I was talking with a company that does structural geology characterization, and they often use drones, although not exclusively. And they're talking about comparing that to oriented core. They're talking about the drones for. Sorry, I'm mixing my examples here. They're also talking about downhole telemetry and core view and things like that. And the point was that the old-fashioned core orientation, it was wrong a lot of the time, right? Whereas when you send an instrument down a borehole, it's in general more accurate measurement. And so similarly, with the drone mapping, when you put a brunt in on a rock face, I mean, there's some margin of error around that as well, right? And so just the sheer volume and the relative ease of collecting this data with these new, so with the sensors and with remote piloted vehicles, I think that could be really significant, right? There's a lot more data, and often very very good data, often better than the traditional way of collecting it.
Definitely some exciting stuff coming out there. And what about you, Joe? Have you sort of seen any technologies that have caught your eye this year, or anything making a bit of an impact even with our customers, or just what you've heard in conversations?
I mean, I totally agree with you there, Dave. Those are key technologies, and I think the next steps forward. For me, this year, straight from Disrupt Mining as well, the one that caught my eye is, I guess, the visualization of aspects and the visualization of data. And it's used for multiple purposes as well. It's serving as a communication tool to different stakeholders, associated with the mining industry, whether it's our local government communities, First Nations, or even internal stakeholders. It could mean, the HR guys want to actually get an idea of what's going on the ground. And if they have, visualized ways of consuming that data, it speaks more than a million words. So, the likes of virtual reality, that in itself injecting into the industry and having the capability of pulling in, consuming data from different aspects. There might be data that's not related, but once you do that, integrated, it starts painting a different picture, which, potentially we would have never known it or seen it unless we, integrated all these data sets together. So I'm quite excited. I just want to see where we're going to go from here.
Sounds really, really cool. Yeah, I think this...
I'll just interject there quickly. Is that an autonomous mining vehicle going behind us? No.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of background noise, but I think that's one of the things when you record direct from a conference. There's always lots of activity in the background.
but your comment, Joe, about the visualization is also very important. And we were talking about this earlier today, where it's great. It's a great tool just to show people a 3D model. People that are in finance or other disciplines, and so that's what the ore body looks like, right? If you're not trained to look at cross sections and geologic maps, it can be difficult to visualize. Definitely. So for sharing and communicating, the visualization is tremendous.
Well, I think we might start to wrap that up there. I guess just one last question in terms of PDAC. Both of you do actually come to the conference each year. Are you sort of noticing a change in sentiment this year from last year? Any, I guess the term I've heard is cautious optimism. Do you think it's definitely building?
Yes, I think so. In the industry, we're seeing it's steadily improving, and look at, and I think it's a good thing that it's not this. I don't think we're getting a feeling of a boom either, right? So maybe that's a good thing. That maybe if we go up slowly, it maybe the inevitable correction may not be as severe.
What about you, Joe?
I agree as well. I think there is optimism for sure. Is it cautious? Maybe yes, maybe no. Maybe it's a bit more than cautious, a bit more better. I attended one presentation talk, and that there was actually the outlook in the future that is talking about this year, and it seems like there's a likelihood of commodity prices, slowly going up, and that in itself, and also if you look at the conversations we've had, they're very forthcoming, they're very positive. And there's a willingness to research more, to start seeing where businesses can improve, and they're willing to invest in that. Building optimization and preparing potentially for the next potential boom, which not boom, but the next potential downfall, which hopefully it's not too low.
Thanks, Joe. Well, I think that's it for today. We'll leave that there. Make sure you keep an ear out for maybe some of our other podcasts coming out from PDAC. They'll be posted in our Acquire newsroom at acquire.com.au. And lastly, just a thanks again, Dave, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And Joe, thank you as well.
Thank you, Mish.
Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Acquire's podcast, the GIM Channel. Find us at acquire.com.au.